All right, it is 2 minutes after the hour, so let's get started. First of all, I want to thank everyone for joining. My name is Paul Connecton. I am formerly the CMO of Beeswax, currently Executive Director here at FreeWheel. Super excited to bring to you this webinar, a quick update on all of our progress that we've been making since we started. Just a quick little housekeeping before I turn it over to our talent, which is Ari Paparo and Shamim Samadi, two of the three co-founders of Beeswax, but we love questions. So if you can ask questions by using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, we will try to get to all those before the end, and we've left plenty of time at the end for that. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Ari. Take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Paul, and thanks everyone for joining us. I think probably most of you know me and Shamim, so not much of an introduction needed. I wanted to make sure that it was the two of us, coming in front of you and talking about the future of Beeswax and a FreeWheel. The acquisition happened about 2 months ago. I want to reassure you, we're still here. We have slightly different titles. I'm working on partnerships now, in addition to being involved with Beeswax. Shamim, you want to give your quick intro?
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. So my new role at FreeWheel is VP in charge of demand products, which includes Beeswax and some other products in the demand portfolio. And extra points for anyone who can guess what's on my wallpaper in the Q&A.
And our third co-founder, Ram, is also now part of the FreeWheel engineering team, still leading up the Beeswax team. We just don't let him on camera. So what we want to talk about today is about really meat and potatoes. It's about what we're building. And so, it's been about 2 months since the acquisition, and of course we get questions like, what's going to happen to Beeswax? Is it still going on? What's the synergy with FreeWheel? So that's the point of this webinar. It's going to be mostly Shamim. Shamim's going to talk about what we've built recently in our building in the coming months, and then specifically about how FreeWheel is being integrated into Beeswax, which is going to offer some pretty exciting synergies, and then the long-term vision, and then we'll take Q&A. So it's a pretty packed agenda. Before we start, I just want to reinforce what's going on here. So we were acquired by FreeWheel in January, so we're 2.5 months in. We're really business as usual. So the product and roadmap process is uninterrupted. I think that in general, Beeswax was known in the DSP market for innovation, for pushing out a lot of product, a lot of code, and that's not changing. So we're still doing monthly releases, monthly product improvements. If you're one of our customers, you probably got an email yesterday with all the latest stuff that came out in March, and we're going to continue to do that and continue on that cadence. So, we think there's really a bright future ahead for people who use our products. And then the last thing I'll point out, the most common question we're getting is that since you're part of FreeWheel, you're probably only focused on video. That's not true. A lot of the roadmap is around premium inventory and around deals and private deals, and Shamim will talk about that. And there is some great video stuff, but we're still committed to the wide array of formats. As a proof point on this, we just integrated Triple Lift last month. It was native creative integration, and that immediately resulted in them exiting for over $1.5 billion. So you can see the power of Beeswax integration on a supply source. I joke, but still. I think probably if you're in ad tech, you've heard of FreeWheel, you know what FreeWheel is, but let's just talk about it for a second. It's a pretty big company. It's one of the most scaled ad tech companies out there, a division of Comcast, over 1,500 employees. The core product is video ad server known as MRM, which is used by sort of the who's who of the media landscape. So effectively broadcasters, MVPDs, anyone in the video and video entertainment is likely to be an MRM customer. But also FreeWheel has a very active and growing ad exchange. Originally it was called Sticky Ads, but now it's under the FreeWheel brand, and buy-side products under the brand Strata, which is an agency planning tool used by agencies in the US. So it's a pretty wide range of solutions. Beeswax is now part of FreeWheel, and we're integrated into their various businesses, and that's where you'll see some of the synergies later in this deck. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Shamim to dive into what we've been building.
Great, thanks, Ari. So I'm going to go through a couple of things. The first, which we're calling building a better hive, the really sort of core BAS DSP features in the platform. And then I'll talk about some of the FreeWheel synergy sort of features that we're building. Both, we're looking at this in sort of the near term. So this is the next sort of 6 months of the roadmap, very concrete. These are things that are under development, and we're delivering, and we'll give specific timelines for those. Sort of, second half of the year, Q3 and Q4, there'll be a lot more. So in typical Beeswax fashion, we like to do these readouts in about a 6-month time frame. So I'm going to start with one area, which is workflow and trafficking, an area we've invested a ton in recently. So for our current customers, our sort of new version of targeting is an example of that. A lot of investment into the workflow targeting, the sort of UI UX of that. Our new reporting report builder product, which is a whole redo of reporting, another example of that, et cetera. So this is continuing on that theme. We continue to be very committed to this, and I'll talk about some of the upcoming features in this area. So the first one is a new line item type that we just released as part of the April release note that just went out to our current customers. So, programmatic guaranteed, a lot of the sort of targeting and logic lives on the publisher side. And so we found that a sort of different workflow for creating those line items, doing that validation, removing some of the errors could be handled in our side. And so we have a new sort of guaranteed line item type available for all customers. And this works across all supply where we're programmatic guaranteed certified. So I'll talk about what we're doing with FreeWheel, and we just launched that, but with Google's Ad Exchange and Magnite and the other sort of exchanges where we're certified for programmatic guaranteed, this line item works across all of those. So this is available now. We're really excited about it. The next one, which is coming in next month in May, is what we're calling our deal library. So this is for any kind of deal, whether it's guaranteed or non-guaranteed. This will allow our customers to bring their deals into the platform. They'll become first-class citizens. You can add all the metadata around describing the deal, the publishers, the floor price, the type of deal, et cetera. And then sort of more importantly, because deals often come with a different bid price or floor price associated to them, you will be able to, in targeting, both select those deals in a friendly way that you've created, but alter the CPM on a deal level. So you may have a single line item with targeting 5 deals, each have their own bid price, a bid floor. You'll be able to control that directly in targeting in one place. Previously this could have been done by creating a bid modifier, but this just sort of really streamlines the workflow. And the feature that we'll then build on top of this and add later in the year will be Beeswax curated deals. So we will work with the SSPs to bring deals that are always on, available for our customers to use in this deal library as well. So again, this is coming in May, and look out for it in next month's release note. So those are a couple of things around workflow and trafficking. I'm going to transition into optimization, which is obviously a core area of investment for us, always has been and will continue to be. So from our bid modifier and delivery modifier products, our bid model product, our bidding agent, our standard strategies, it's a key sort of toolkit that we enable our customers with. So, and it's also worth mentioning this theme continues with the theme of workflow and targeting. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a new version of bid modifiers. So bid modifiers is a very heavily used feature, very powerful feature in the platform that allows sort of a trafficker or trader to control their bid price through a modifier object. And similar to what we did with targeting, which is we rethought the user experience and rebuilt it in a much more sort of friendly way to reduce the number of clicks and enhance sort of the capabilities. We're doing the same thing with bid modifiers. To give you an example of, and you could see sort of the mock here, which current customers will see the similarities with targeting, but we're also adding new capabilities. So segment recency, which we added as a targeting feature a few months back will now be available as a bid modifier feature. So you can bid differently depending on how recently a user was added to a segment. And so this is coming in June. June is going to be a big release. We'll talk about some of the other releases coming up in June. In a similar vein, delivery modifiers is getting an even bigger sort of upgrade in terms of functionality. So same idea where the UI UX is being rebuilt, but we're adding a ton of features to it. And this is based off of customer feedback and based off of both the success of the feature in its current form and the feedback on additional capabilities that our customers have asked for. So sort of first and foremost is the ability to add sort of multiple features for, or we think of it as multi-column delivery modifiers. So in the current version, you can only choose a single feature when you're using the modifier UI, like deal ID or inventory source, et cetera. Now in the UI, you'll be able to create multiple features. So deal ID, operating system, you know, time of day, whatever combination you want, and apply a delivery weight to that combination. So we're, you know, and that could have been done through a model, but now it's accessible via the UI. Another feature is around, we've heard from customers is, you know, they want to cap a specific combination of features. So while I may want 50% of my budget to go to this combination, I sort of want to cap it in case we start pacing more heavily towards it at X number of impressions are spent. So we're also adding caps, and we're adding the ability to sort of fall back in the case where multiple rows match. So this is more of a fundamental sort of doubling down on the feature, enhancing the feature in a lot of ways. Also available in June. So in June, we'll get both bid modifiers and delivery modifiers. Next, I'm going to talk about advanced analytics, an area we've invested a ton in, from the report builder product to the recent custom dashboards to our antenna product. Continues to be a big area of investment. There's two things I'd like to talk about. So the first is availability forecasting. Probably one of the longest sort of requested features. While we have you know, pretty powerful capabilities with meta markets and some of the other reporting tools, haven't been as integrated with the workflow, and importantly, have not provided our customers with insights into availability in terms of audience or the segments that they're targeting, whether it's a pre-bid segment from viewability or an audience segment. So this feature addresses both of those things. So the new forecasting solution will be integrated directly into the sort of our line item workflow, where a trafficker can set up their targeting and other dimensions of the line item, and in that workflow, be able to produce a forecast. It'll also include, of course, all the segment data that's targeted, whether it's pre-bid or audience. And the first version in June will be around available auctions for that targeting. Future versions will include delivery forecasting, meaning for this CPM, how much can I expect to deliver? So really excited about this one. The other thing I'll note is that we are adding a sort of analytics tab to our line item workflow, where you'll be able to get the forecast, as well as the next feature I'll talk about, which is bid decision flow. This has been referred in the past on sort of our customer roadmaps as a no bid reason report, but it really is a visualization, and we're you know, the solution we've built here is around giving our customers and programmatic traders a visualization of the reasons why their line item is not bidding, and seeing that in sort of a flow, because these things sort of stack on top of each other. So, you know, targeting may be a reason that something's not matching, but further down the funnel, it could be creatives or creative size or frequency cap or budget, etc. So we're taking more of a visualization approach. It'll also be tightly coupled in the line item, similar to forecasting, also part of the June release. So June's going to be quite a big month for us in terms of releases. So those are a few things I'd sort of highlight in terms of the core product. Now I'm going to talk about some of the upcoming FreeWheel integration points that are coming in the next few months. So I'm going to start with supply. Like obviously, as Ari mentioned, FreeWheel has a unique position in supply for premium video supply, be that CTV and other forms of premium video. So, one of the things that's really important to us is how can we give our customers access to all that supply, and what are the features that can help buyers access that supply in the way they want. So the first thing that we also just released in our April release note yesterday is certification for FreeWheel's programmatic guaranteed. So, about 90% of premium video runs on FreeWheel. Everyone recognizes all these logos. A lot of with premium video, accessing it through programmatic at scale, oftentimes, not always, requires one to buy it on a programmatic guarantee basis. So, enabling this feature, we think is going to really just open up the doors for our customers to access this more premium video supply, and it's available now, so customers can use it immediately. There's more details about how the feature works in our release note that just went out. So really excited about that one. And to build on top of that, the next feature, which we're targeting for Q3, is advanced deal access to FreeWheel supply. So what does that mean? So, traditionally, when it comes to deals, they're one-to-one. You're calling up the publisher, striking a one-to-one deal, sort of offline. This feature is around bringing that entire workflow directly into the Beeswax UI so that our customers can create multi-publisher deals. It could be one-to-one, but it could be multi-pub. They can bring their buy-side decisioning. So they could bring, for example, audience targeting to that deal and select other targeting. Get, plans or forecasts on what they can expect to deliver on that deal, both in terms of audience size, CPM, sort of delivered impressions, etc. And then ultimately execute that deal, and it'll tie into the deal library that I spoke about sort of at the top of the webinar. So, customer can go through this workflow, apply all that. That deal will be available in the deal library to then be used for targeting and optimization, both guaranteed deals and non-guaranteed deals that will be multi-pub. So really excited about this, and there's going to be a lot. Ari will talk a bit about sort of this theme that we're working around data and identity, but that's a core part of this solution, is being able to solve for the identity piece, which can be tricky in CTV environments. So really excited about this one again, Q3. The last thing I'd like to talk about is data. So there's a feature coming also in Q3 around making segments that are based off of Comcast TV viewership available to customers. So, Comcast takes user privacy very seriously. And the way that this feature has been built is, while it's using Comcast sort of TV viewership, sort of underlying seed data, these segments are modeled out. So they're look-alike, modeled out to create both national footprint and give customers scale while preserving anonymity, and these are create larger group of segments, which include both Comcast TV viewer data and non-Comcast users. So these are modeled out to keep user privacy extremely secure. The segments themselves are sort of in three buckets. And again, this is based off of linear viewership data. So the first bucket of segments is around general linear viewership. Are these heavy TV viewers or light TV viewers broken into different deciles and sort of percentage buckets? That's the first. The second is around genre viewership. So is this sports viewer, heavy lifestyle, or news and weather viewer, et cetera. So there's a set of segments around that. And third is around brand exposure. So these are the top 500 brands broken out by frequency. So has this user seen this brand, 1 to 2 times in the last X days, 3 to 7 times, et cetera. So both for, digital reach extension, competitive conquesting, there's a ton of use cases around using those segments. So really excited about this one, and more to come with the specifics as we get closer to the release.
As we like to say, some restrictions may apply.
Yes, thank you. Some restrictions may apply around, which inventory you can use that on, et cetera. More to come on that. And sort of just to bring it all together, this is what it looks like. Again, 6-month, very specific stuff that we're delivering. April, we're really excited about the release that already went out. May, you can expect the deal library. June's going to be a massive release with all the things we talked about modifiers, forecasting, and bid decision flow. And in Q3, some of the bigger FreeWheel synergy features will hit. The advanced deal access and the TV viewership data segments. And post Q3, and even including Q3, as teams continue to dig in, there's going to be a ton more. So we just wanted to give you guys an early view based off of the stuff that's fully baked.
Great. So just to close this out, we, in typical Beeswax fashion, we rolled up our sleeves and got working as soon as we became part of FreeWheel, and that's why I think you see such an exciting roadmap that Shamim and Ram and the team have been able to develop so quickly. But there's a lot more to come. And so as we look forward into the end of this year and in 2022, we're going to continue trying to enhance Beeswax and also take advantage of our position within Comcast and FreeWheel. So if you go to the next slide, in very general terms, what we're working on without specifics is around pricing TV and data. On the pricing side, anyone who's a current Beeswax customer, close your ears, this has no relevance to you. But there are some set of customers who are potential customers in the past who've been interested in what Beeswax has to offer, but not as much able to think in terms of our QPS model and our commitment model. And we're becoming a lot more flexible about that for certain use cases. So I'd encourage you to reach out if that was a barrier in the past to working with us. For TV, FreeWheel is just, and Comcast is just the center of all the changes going on around TV. And so building on some of the things that Shamim announced around programmatic guaranteed and using Comcast data, but also enabling things like addressable and VOD and linear. That's going to be a big part of the roadmap moving forward. I don't think there'll be a better place to get access to that stuff than Beeswax. And lastly, moving beyond the initial Comcast viewership data to figure out how else the investments that Comcast and FreeWheel are making in data and identity can help in the connected TV environment. We really don't have specifics on that. As Shamim mentioned, and as has been discussed numerous times, Comcast is incredibly focused on privacy and the consumers that they service through their various companies. But within that scope, we're looking at how we can leverage that to help our customers get better results and better transparency within some of these environments where identity is a challenge. So what you've seen today, I think, is really exciting. I hope you agree it's really exciting, but also the future is going to be even more exciting as we really integrate these two companies. So with that, we're going to open up QA. So hand it back to Paul to moderate.
Yeah, definitely. So we have quite a few questions here, so we'll just start from the beginning. I swear this is not a plant question. Hello, thank you for sharing your feature vision. I see that you're getting too many features in June. Is there a staggered release or all at once?
They're actually going to be all at once, although the features have been in development for a while. So we will, our typical release schedule is when the release note goes out, all of those releases will be available. They can be, they're often behind feature flags, so they can be enabled by customers. They don't go out to all customers at once. But they've been in development for a while, and timing is just so happens to all be in June.
Okay, and a follow-up question from somebody else to that question, but for the upcoming feature release, will you plan on offering a webinar on each feature area to provide more details / guidance and usage?
So, we do for more complex features, like when we did targeting V2, or we first did bid modifiers or delivery modifiers, we'll do feature sort of releases and training. We'll consider it certainly for some of the more advanced features. So it really depends on the feature size, whether it sort of warrants a dedicated webinar. Regardless of webinar, of course, all of the features are thoroughly documented in our help center, in our API documentation at docs.beeswax.com. So more specifics to come.
And if you really need the hand holding, I'm sure your CSM, your customer success manager, will be happy to get on a phone call with you when these features are closer to release.
All right, this is a more general question. Now that you're part of FreeWheel, will you be favoring FreeWheel inventory over other exchanges?
No, absolutely not. We will not manipulate the auction or otherwise tip the scales to favor FreeWheel inventory. If we have a incentive program that's economic or otherwise, we would come to you and offer that. But we will not do anything technically behind the scenes to move away from our sort of philosophy around transparency and fairness.
Great. Next question. Will the advanced delivery modifiers allow us to set a percentage weight of desired delivery per creative? I believe the current feature is limited to ad size only.
So you can specify percentage. I think the question is actual creative going to be a dimension, not just creative size? I don't believe it will be. I'll double check with the team. That's something that we can certainly add, and would be happy. Whoever's asking that, feel free to email me directly. We could talk through the use case.
I'm pretty sure creative ID is a field in bid models. Maybe they're not in delivery models.
Yeah, I think that's correct. But would love that the use case makes sense, but would, again, happy to chat. And my email is shamim@beeswax.com.
All right, well, while I have you on the line, we do have one guess from the audience on what your wallpaper is. Palm trees. Is it palm trees?
Yeah. It's a trick question. There's no right answer. It's like a fantastical scene. I couldn't tell you. It's not a real world scene. So there's no right answer.
Well, in the next
there's also no wrong answer.
We're going to need a close-up of one of those things, and anyone can interpret it the way they want. Back to the beeswax questions. Deals under the same line item. Can the bid prices be in different currencies?
Good question.
That's a curveball. That's a curveball right there.
Right. That's the intersection of many features coming into one. I'll have to. So the bid. I'll have to check, and if that's an important feature, happy to revert back and talk to the team about it. So bids are
hold on. Campaigns can only be in a single currency, so I don't see any way you could support that without breaking all of our reporting.
Yeah. There's your answer.
Yeah.
We have a restriction at the campaign level.
All right. Is there more detail on the addressable solutions and timing?
Addressable TV? Not really. I think that's an area where the technology that FreeWheel is putting out is very cutting edge. And is really working closely with the publishers. On the DSP side, I think it's a little further out.
Okay, great. Going back to supply, will it's just basically another question about the neutrality and independence. I'll just skip that one. Will there be anything redacted change from what's currently available in the Beeswax logs, specifically to address user privacy?
Well, I don't think we have any plans to do that. And if we did, we would let you know. I think that the deprecation of cookies is going to make less data available naturally, as well as IDFAs. So you should see a lot less data, user data in your logs moving forward, just because of changes in the environment.
All right, and I know you probably can't say too much about this, but there is a question just generally about pricing efficiencies and things that may be available in the future now that we're all one company. Do you have anything you can say about that, just generally?
Yeah, I'd say have a good conversation with your account manager and your CSM. Like if you have if you use multiple products, if you're a FreeWheel publisher and a Beeswax customer, have that conversation. We're going to engage with our customers to come up with the right solutions for them.
All right, and one last question, and if you want to submit another question, feel free to do so. Can you explain what guaranteed LI means?
Guaranteed LI means guaranteed line item. So, it really means that you are guaranteeing a number of impressions at a specific price to that publisher, because the publisher has prioritized that supply on their side and are expecting a very high bid rate north of 90% at that certain price. So guaranteed LI is just an abbreviation for guaranteed line item.
Okay. And I don't know how much you can say about this yet because we're still working on integrating and all that stuff. But in terms of unique supply, where will Beeswax fall in the waterfall for TV/FreeWheel inventory? Will buyers get access to the most premium inventory?
Well, I'll speak for FreeWheel, which hopefully I won't misspeak, which is that FreeWheel has had a unified auction through what's called its programmatic module for about a year and a half. It came out about a year and a half ago, and so FreeWheel's already giving its MRM publishers the ability to have a fair auction between directly sold and indirectly sold, and that's the case across any DSP that buys into the premium inventory from FreeWheel.
All right, here's another. We're just piling in here. I'm getting lots of questions about the quote death of cookies in Google's privacy sandbox. When can we expect Aries Ad Exchanger article on the subject?
I think one thing that will change is you'll see fewer ad exchange articles from me moving forward. I would say we're engaged in these issues. Our partnership team is reaching out to the exchanges and SSPs to understand what they're doing on Flock and how we can support Flock. We will have more to say on that as it develops. I think it's a very nascent situation right now.
Okay. Another question, will the TV viewership segments be available via API to be utilized further in other tools? Aries shaking his head no.
That seems very, very unlikely.
Okay. And that is it for now. So I do want to thank our co-founders here, Ari Paparo and Shamim Samadi, for helping us understand all these really exciting things. Like Ari said, we've only been part of this company for a couple of months, but we put the foot all the way down to the floor on the gas, and we will continue to do that. So thank you too for walking us through that. Thank you, the audience, for joining us and spending your time with us. Hope everyone is healthy, happy, and safe. We will be providing a recording of this webinar on our website in the next couple of days. Until then, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks for joining. Bye.